All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. We are live again today. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, make sure you hop in the comments and let us know that you're watching. Big Pooh, what's happening?
What's happening? What's happening? Just coming down off of uh, this high of all four playoff games coming down to the last play. It was
It
awesome.
it was a glorious weekend for football. And our guest today is Chad Ryan. Chad, how are you doing?
Big Douglas, it's great to be here, mate. Thank you for having me. We've reached out and talked to each other a bit in recent times, but this is the first time joining the show, and happy to be here. And I've been such a fan of what you're doing, man. You're really out there grinding and booking great guests and getting great content, and good on you. Like, it's great to see. I know what that's like, having been doing that myself for a while, and you're killing it, man. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and we had definitely been trying to set this up. We're not the first time that we've tried, but you're in Australia, and there's a time difference. Pooh, I know you are a world traveler. It is 4 o'clock here, Eastern Standard Time. What time do you think it is in Australia right now?
It depends on what part of Australia
Well,
he's in. That's one.
fair.
I'm in the East Coast.
Okay, so you Melbourne, Sydney, you
Melbourne.
around
Yep, you got
Melbourne.
it.
Yeah, I've been there. I don't know what time it is, but I believe it's like a 16-hour difference.
Yeah, well, I'll give you a hint. It's Tuesday here, so
No, I knew it was the day before. I definitely knew that. Because when I was out there
After, right?
after before.
depends on where you're sitting.
Yeah, so there, so if you're in Australia, you're there ahead.
Yeah, that's right. So it's
yeah.
it's 8 a.m. Tuesday morning here, which normally would be a great time to record. I was up all night with a 2-week-old baby though, and a toddler that kept getting woken up by a 2-week-old baby. So I'm a little bit sleep deprived this morning. So if I start slurring my words, it's not because I'm Australian drunk. It's just because I'm Australian tired.
Chad, I know most people are familiar with your work from the Redskins Capital Connection. You guys have been grinding for a long time. I'm curious, it's an easy question to ask. How from Australia to DC?
Yeah, so it's a story I've told a lot. So for anyone who is familiar with my work, they would have heard it before. But for anyone who's seeing or hearing me for the first time, the short version of the story is essentially I'd been to DC a bunch of times for work, really loved the town. Now, because 1 p.m. Sunday, with that time difference we just mentioned, 1 p.m. Sunday is usually 3 a.m. Monday for me here in Australia. There was always a bit of a barrier about getting into NFL. So I hadn't really gotten into it until about the early 2000s, around 2005, 2006, 2007 is when I really started paying attention. Fell in love with the game, like watched a little bit. I was like, this is interesting. This is good. And then one day there was like that light bulb moment where I was like, it went from this is interesting to I fucking love this sport, man. So really got into it, adopted the then Redskins as my team, and never looked back. And then in terms of me covering the team and that angle of things, it was, what was it, about 2014, I think. It's either 2013 or 2014, just as a way to feel more connected to a team that you're 10,000 miles away from geographically. I just started a one-man podcast with no expectations. That just went from one thing to another thing to another thing, and here we are now. So yeah, it's good fun. It's a good way to meet people like yourselves and have some fun following a team from so far away.
Well, it was our team was not in there this weekend. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But it was one of the greatest weekends of football that I can ever recall. I've watched this sport for a long time. Pooh, let's start with the Saturday games. Who'd you have in that Bills Titans game?
Bengals Titans. I actually had the Bengals. I had the Bengals 3. Was it +3? I believe that's what I did. Yeah. So I thought it was. I didn't think it was going to even be that close. I just thought the Bengals were playing well. They have an explosive offense. Well, I thought they had one until that playoff game. But I just felt they were going to be the team. Titans were trying to integrate Derrick Henry back into the fold after he missed all them weeks with the foot injury, and I think they Julio Julio Jones was back in the lineup after missing all them games. So I just think they had a lot of players they were trying to integrate for a playoff game. It kind of, I think it might have messed their rhythm up some. I didn't see that whole game, only saw parts of it. But from what I saw, it was a lot of vicious hitting going on. And neither O-line looked like they should have got their playoff checks.
Well, I was going to say, Chad, I mean, a team has never had the quarterback sacked 9 times and won a game. I mean, it's like the 5 turnover game that you win. It doesn't happen.
The previous record was former Washington quarterback, great former champion. I think I believe he's in our Ring of Fame, Donovan McNabb, while he was with his previous team, the Eagles. He was sacked 8 times in a game and won back in 2003. They made a mention of that during the game. And literally, like, the second they put that stat on, Burrow got sacked for the 9th time. I was like, well, okay, so this is happening. Look, that was the only game I got wrong this weekend. So I went 3 out of 4. I had the Titans in that game, picked the other 3 games correctly. I thought the Titans were going to win just because I thought they were going to be able to pressure Burrow all day, and they did, but they still couldn't win. And they had the chance to win. Like, Pooh, I know you said you didn't watch the game, but the Titans almost won that game at the end. Like all the other games this weekend, it really came down to the end. And if, Mike Vrabel had made a different decision, if, one play had gone the other way, Titans are, in the championship round this week. So, I mean, I thought that was, what a game, that's going to be the game of the week. And then every game after it was better than the previous one. But the Titans game was really an interesting battle, on, Washington football team Twitter about philosophy, because there's a lot of people who look at some of the stuff I'm saying about what some potential quarterback options are for Washington in the future. And like, well, look at Tannehill in Tennessee. That's not working. And like, it kind of is. And they didn't lose that game because of Tannehill. So it's, it was a bit of fun from that regard as well.
Not just that, but it was a big debate for the Bengals. They went Jamar Chase instead of Penny Sewell. And It lit up drafting experts and team builders as to what's important. It's interesting. That wide receiver trio that the Bengals have may be the best in the league. You get sacked 9 times. You got to find a way to get them the ball, though. They found creative ways to do that by screens and stuff. But boy, you can't afford to have that kid take 9 hits and keep playing a long time. It's interesting. Yeah. Without the transfer portal, Pooh, we may never have a Joe Burrow.
A Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. It's a few quarterbacks who
Cam Newton going back.
Yeah, Cam Newton after they transferred and went to their new team, then we started hearing about them. So the transfer portal, they got to tighten up some things on it, but it's a wonderful tool. As far as Cincinnati and I think the thing people lose, and obviously it's not good to see your franchise quarterback that just coming off a knee injury the previous season get sacked 9 times in a playoff game. You never want to see that, but I think people forget quickly you can't fix it all in an off season. And the Bengals were terrible for a reason. They had a high pick for a reason. They had a lot of holes, and I can't fault them for picking, Jamar Chase, who dynamic receiver that takes the top off of the defense. So he's different from the 2 receivers they had in their names are escaping me, Higgins and Boyd, Boyd. So he's different in regards to how they operate. So he actually opened their offense up when he actually started catching the ball. So I can't fault them for that pick. That pick was a great pick. It's just, and even one offensive lineman, right? So even if they would have drafted, so it's still 4 other guys on that line that was, one guy didn't give up 9 sacks. So it's one of them things where, okay, now you got your playmakers in place in Cincinnati. It's time to address the offensive line this offseason. You know what you need. Whenever your season ends, you know what you need. You need more big men in the front.
And like, let's be clear though as well. Like, yes, the Bengals offensive line played really, really poorly, and that's contributed a lot to why Burrow was sacked 9 times. But that wasn't why he was sacked each and every one of those 9 times. Some of that blame goes onto Joe Burrow holding on the ball too long, and some of that blame goes onto the Bengals passing game because they were still running these really complex route trees when they needed to be running quick options because it was clear that the Titans were getting to Burrow and beating the offensive line. When that's happening, stop running these plays where guys are taking 3, 5, 7 seconds to get open because it's not going to work. So, there's a lot of change I think we'll see from the offensive game plan in the championship round for that AFC matchup, because if they go back into that game with the game plan they had against Tennessee, he's going to get sacked again a lot of times.
Chris, how are you, my friend?
Oh, man, it's been a stressful day, but I'm here.
I saw that. Got you my prayers. Hope everything's okay there. We just got through wrapping up kind of with the Bengals game. One of the things I wanted to ask you, we haven't had you on since kind of the season wrapped. I'm curious, like the game's over for half these teams. What are the players doing right now once the season wraps? What is next?
Everybody's hanging with their families, going on vacations, try to spend some quality time with their loved ones, because a lot of times during the season, people don't really understand how many hours are really put into, a typical NFL day. No one's healthy, but let's just say you're hurt. More than likely, you're getting up at 6:30 to get into the facility so you can start your rehab. Then you have the team lift by like 7:38, or maybe you lift after lunch or something. But you're pretty much in that building from 6:30 to 7 until 4 or 5 o'clock every day. And then when you get home, it's not like work is done. It's like you still got film study that you want to get ahead on. You still got your masseuse that you got to see. You still got your other doctors that you need to see, your stretchologist, your dry needle guy, your nutrition guy. Like by 9 o'clock, and like most families are asleep, and that's when like a typical NFL player pretty much is starting to settle down for the rest of his day. So now that the off season is here, I know for myself, every time the off season came, me and my family always tried to take a trip somewhere and just relax and just get your mind on football.
How long are you required to stay at the facility after that last game before it's kind of your time?
Oh no, you're done. When
one day
over, you're done. You come back in, you hand in your playbook, and you kind of have an exit meeting, and hopefully the coach will come in there and have a team meeting and address the team and try to give them something positive to look forward to towards the off season. Then you got to figure out who's going to be there, who's not, because some of those guys that may be their last day in the building forever, and for a lot of those guys it may be the beginning to something special. So hopefully they felt like they left a good taste in the team's mouth or in the coach's mouth, and they'll bring those guys back or give them new contracts. But so many different guys are in so many other different situations, you just never know.
It's why that last day with the locker clean out is such a media frenzy, because the media knows this is going to be the last day we ever talk to some of these guys. This is going to be the last day we talk to these guys for 6 months. It's always a very, very tricky day because it's bittersweet for a lot of guys. It's great news for some guys. It's a tough day to handle.
All right, let's get back into the weekend. So we're at the Bengals game. Then the evening game is San Francisco versus Green Bay. I would suggest Green Bay had a better shot of winning that game if they had played it in San Francisco. I mean, that team's not built to play that way in the snow with Aaron Rodgers. He had a horrible game. I don't know what the game plan was.
Listen, man, are we gonna talk about Aaron Rodgers' playoff record
against the Niners specifically?
I mean,
you're on 4.
It's one of those things where I don't know what happens, but whenever they have to play the 49ers specifically, they nut up.
It's from that quote that Aaron Rodgers said when he got drafted. The 49ers are going to hate me every time they have to play me, or something crazy like that, and he hasn't been able to beat them when it counts.
Man,
and it's just thank you, NFL gods, for that, because that's just a great cap on Aaron Rodgers' season.
Hey, listen, it set Twitter off now. That was a fun night on Twitter when they lost, but it's once again what we talked about before we started airing, 3 phases of the game, right? Their special teams single-handedly
Won the game.
Single-handedly won the game. Like,
shout out to Coach Hightower, former Redskin coach.
Listen,
team's coordinator.
Adam Schefter didn't tweet about him, did he?
Right. It's one of them things where it's like, I don't know. You're in Green Bay. You in the elements. It's cold. Green Bay, y'all supposed to have this in the bag.
That's their home field advantage.
That's the home field advantage. You had this in the bag, and you got whipped on special teams.
Yep.
That's it. Whipped on special teams.
Is it the last time we see Aaron Rodgers in a Green Bay uniform?
Yep.
Might be the last time. Him and Devontae Adams.
Well, they're going to tag Devontae Adams, I bet. But
well, the problem is they might not be able to afford to.
Yeah, Devontae's going to go wherever Aaron's going. They're not going to be able to afford to
tag him.
Yeah, Green Bay have the second worst cap space situation in the NFL, and when you consider what their issue is at quarterback, and their second best player in Devontae Adams, you can make an argument that they have the worst cap situation in the NFL because of that. It's going to be really interesting to see how they handle that.
It was he was not good in that game. He might have been a little bit better than Jimmy G, who is now the name is now setting Washington football team Twitter ablaze. Are you interested in Jimmy G?
I take
no.
I take Mitch Trubisky first after his year with Brian Dable. Give me him. Give me Mitch first.
And I don't think that's too far off. Interesting. Very interesting that in a matter of about a year or two, we have seen Aaron Rodgers turn heel and Tom Brady become lovable. Not something I thought that I would expect.
Yeah, like you're spot on, Big Doug. And yet, if you watch the NFL landscape this weekend, about 90 million people were rooting for Tom Brady to lose. So, he's lovable, but we still don't want him to win again. So,
yeah, that's what everyone was saying. It was like, man, I don't care what happened to his players, as long as Tom Brady wasn't in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
When we get to Sunday, the Rams did everything possible to lose that game.
Oh, man.
I mean, everything possible. And Bo, you brought up when we're talking about the Titans about some of the guys they had brought back, the Derrick Henry that was still getting into – I mean, it was obvious that Cam Akers hadn't had anybody punching at a football in a while because he had a hard time holding on to it. But Matthew Stafford shows you why you go out there and spend. You cannot spend this whole weekend. Shows you exactly the importance of the quarterback. And for all these people that will tell you on Twitter or wherever else, that's too much to spend. There's literally not too much. There is nothing too expensive when it comes to franchise quarterbacks.
Well, we'll see this weekend.
I'm about saying that this weekend is going to.
Yeah, they paid him to win a Super Bowl. They didn't pay him just to win that last game. But we'll see this weekend if the Matt Stafford trade paid off.
I know that OBJ trade paying off.
It definitely is.
And the Von Miller trade.
And the Von Miller trade. Yep.
Von Miller hit the famous dance.
And then they turned around and gave the ball right back.
Right back. Next play.
Next play gave it right back.
Chris, explain to me, Aaron Donald had 9 pressures on the game. What is it about Aaron Donald you cannot? What can you do?
Well, it's not
particularly now with outside edge rushers.
Yeah, it's not just Aaron Donald anymore. Now they have 3 guys who you could pretty much double team. Any given day, Von Miller's getting double team. Any given day, Leonard Floyd is getting double team. And now it's like
Georgia guy.
What is it?
He said Georgia guy.
Yeah. But all of those guys command a double team. So now, Raheem Morris has really done a good job at being able to put those guys on opposite sides of the field. And now it's kind of hard. It's like pick your poison. Who do you want to double team? And a lot of times, guys are going to double Aaron Donald, but the way the defense is set up, they might put an overload and put him single-handed on the worst offensive lineman on the other side of the field, and there's nothing you can do about it. He could beat your best guy. Now put him on your worst guy. Now you're in a world of trouble.
And they did that.
They kept
putting.
We saw him play every position.
Yeah.
They'll put him at nose sometimes because they feel like he he may have an advantage over the center. And I'm pretty sure it's kind of like the J.J. Watt effect, because J.J. Watt will line up on every single guy until he finds that duck. And when he finds that duck, he's going to stay on that duck all game until somebody figure out a way to stop him. And now you got a three-headed monster with Vaughn, Floyd, and Aaron Donald. It's hard to really game plan for that. And especially with their right tackle being out for Tampa Bay, I mean, it was open season on that right side. And Von Miller took advantage of Donovan Smith, who's been having a really good year with Tom Brady back there as quarterback. But Von Miller looked elite again.
Oh, he punished him. He punished him yesterday.
Chris, how far off is Jonathan Allen from Aaron Donald?
They're very different players. Like, I know they play the same position, but they're very different players.
Hard to compare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that makes Aaron Donald so
Aaron
special
Donald,
is just how fast he is. Like, there's a lot of guys on the defensive line who are 280 pounds, 300 pounds, who are like strong and have the technical proficiency, but not all of them have Aaron Donald's speed. Like, he's so quick.
Right.
He's so quick off the line, and he will just beat you before you have your feet set if you're on the offensive line. And that's what makes him a rare talent. Like, he has all of the tools, not just, the strength and the proficiency and, all the moves. He has that speed that just kills you.
And
you got to think about it. Aaron Donald was getting 10 plus sacks, getting doubled and triple team, and Jonathan Allen, he's getting double team, but I don't think the triple teams are really there yet. You know what I mean? Like Jonathan Allen is good, but Aaron Donald's another beast. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely he's another tier ahead of Jonathan Allen. And that's not a bad thing on Jonathan Allen, because Jonathan Allen's a great player. But when you talk about Aaron Donald, you're talking about one of the greatest players that has ever played the game at the defensive tackle position.
Yeah.
Would you be more surprised if Tom Brady retired or Aaron Rodgers retired this year?
Aaron Rodgers.
I'd say Tom. Like, Aaron Rodgers, this is what a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I'm really talking about the Washington fans who are like, yeah, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. We're going to get Aaron Rodgers. Like, even if he hadn't been doing this, he's still a 39-year-old quarterback. But he's a 39-year-old quarterback who has spoken publicly multiple times this season about maybe retiring. And there's that famous saying in sports that when you start thinking about retiring, you're basically already retired. So I don't think it'll be a shock if he retires, because he's spoken about it. Tom Brady hasn't spoken about it. He's spoken about how, like, I want to play till I'm 75 or whatever nonsense stuff the TB12 diet's going to let him do. I would be more surprised if Brady retired at this point, because, Aaron Rodgers has been speaking about it.
I mean,
that doesn't mean he will.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely spot on with that. And plus, Aaron Rodgers is part owner in the Milwaukee Bucks, right? So they just won a championship a couple years ago. So he might just ride off in retirement and just enjoy being an owner.
I think Aaron Rodgers, I think a lot of what he says is you got to take with a grain of salt, because you don't understand his context.
Boy, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, not the context, his context of why he's saying these things. And I don't see him retiring after that game he had yesterday, or the day before, or the last game they played. I don't see him retiring off that game. Like,
the competitor him won't let him hang it up.
Yeah, because he's still playing at an extremely high level. There's very few people that can do what he does to this day. So I think he understands, like, I still have a lot more left, and I can't go out like that. Not like
he
that.
Played hurt most of the season. With
the toe, he decided to show everybody.
Right.
And the toe man. They saved the best for last. That Bills Chiefs game might be the best football game I've ever watched. Ever.
Yeah,
I've ever
it was
watched.
amazing.
They scored 20. They combined for 25 points in the last 2 minutes of the game.
That was like Madden. That was like playing Madden.
It was incredible.
Except if that was really Madden, there would have been about 5 or 6 rage quits before the actual end of the game.
Right.
Fuck this, I'm out.
Right.
Your opponent has left the game.
I don't understand why somebody's got to explain to me why they don't squib kick.
That's
the game's
thing.
over if you squib that kick.
Not necessarily. So, like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have squib kicked, because I agree they should have. But the risk, like what a special teams coordinator will look at in terms of the risk of a squib kick, is if you get a bad bounce on that first kick, they can recover the ball pretty much already in field goal range, or like one small play away from field goal range. If you pretty much any person in the world other than Patrick Mahomes is not driving the field into field goal range in 13 seconds. So like if you look at your analytics sheet, it's going to say don't squib kick here. But you got to account for Patrick Mahomes.
Well, does it say kick it out of the back of the end zone? They could at least kicked it to the one.
Patrick
Yeah, no,
Mahomes,
I agree. Shouldn't have kicked it out of the end zone. Should have been a short, deep kick.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. I'm not giving those type of guys. No, that I don't care if it's 13 seconds, 15 seconds. They had 3 timeouts. I'm not giving them that time. Period.
But
like,
I'll take my chances with those guys any day. But you have to have the right situational football awareness. Like, why were they rushing 4 guys? Drop that extra man in the coverage. You know that they're going to get rid of the ball. He's not going to hold it long. You know, he's trying to get rid of it quick. You know, that's just bad situational play calling by the defensive coordinator.
And they were pressing, the boundary too. Like,
right,
they've got 3 timeouts. Who cares about the boundary?
Right,
who cares?
That wasn't the situation for a boundary play. Like, line up and play defense. Don't allow these guys to get nothing quick over the middle like they was able to get with Kelsey. But if you just play regular defense like you've been doing all day and just hold up, you'll be okay. I don't like. Teams pay coaches too much money to go out there and blow calls like that at the biggest time of the game.
I agree 100% with Swaggy.
Yeah, and you work on that situation every Saturday, every Friday, every Saturday. You walk over the end of the game situations. What do you do when there's 10 seconds left and the team has no timeouts? What do you do when there's 45 seconds left and the team has 3 timeouts? And then you walk through these plays. Oh, converted first down. What play do they love to run off of a first down when it's a running clock? Like, that's stuff that we're prepared for every week. So to see them get in the biggest moment of the season and blow it, it was like unbelievable. It's like, guys, we practice this every single Saturday. How can we fuck this up now?
Pressure burst pipes.
Well, let's here's the next thing that game led to. And Pooh, I know you're interested in this. There will be calls for overtime rules readjustments.
Like keep it the way it is.
Some of those calls are coming from me, boys. Let's have this fight.
I'm okay. So this is my thing, right?
Keep it the way it is. Make a stop on defense.
Make a stop.
Make a stop.
The NFL is 3 phases. The game is 3 phases: special teams, defense, offense. Right?
Yep.
3 phases of football. It's not just the fabulous quarterback, right? That I think people, and I'm not saying you, but I think a lot of people are just thinking about the last game they saw. Awesome game, all on point score at the end of the game. Crazy game. We wanted more. We want more. We want more. We want more. Nobody, I didn't hear these calls when Pittsburgh and Detroit went into overtime and ended up tying. I didn't hear these calls for these overtime changes then.
Right.
It's when the NFL made the change and said, okay, either if the team comes down and scores a touchdown, game over. If you hold them to a field goal, your offense get a chance. That's all the change that was needed. That's all the change. That's all the change that was needed. If your defense can't hold this team to at least a field goal, you deserve to lose.
Yeah,
period. I don't care if Joe Montana was sitting on that other sideline. If you come down and your defense cannot keep them out the end zone, you do not deserve to win because you had 60 minutes in regulation to win. That's the thing. Overtime isn't supposed to be fair. It is supposed to be equal. It is survival of the fittest.
That's it.
Period. So all this, everybody gets a turn. That's college football, man. That's college. This ain't college.
So I agree with you up until a point. So using your words, like it's 3 phases of football, right? And to win, you need all 3 phases to fire. I agree completely. So both teams should have to play defense in overtime.
No.
It shouldn't be decided on a coin flip. And I know you're like, no, coin flip. But I'll tell you who made that same argument. The Kansas City Chiefs, when this happened to them against the Pats in 2018. In March 2019, they went to the league meetings in the offseason and tried to change the overtime rules because they themselves had this happen to them. And they're like, well, this can't be, this is nonsense. We should go to the college rules. So that argument you're making right now, because the Kansas City Chiefs won last night, they tried to change the rules themselves 3 years ago.
And I bet you that if it had been Tom, they'd have changed the rule too.
Nobody, they didn't even put that rule change on the table.
Right.
That's
no, because it didn't have the support of the other owners. Yeah.
Right. Right. So that's how they feel about it. This is the thing, like the NFL does so much in, they supposed to be under this player safety thing, but they add another game and they have contradicting things going there. The one thing is not going to happen is the whole point of overtime is not to play the full overtime. So they want that game over as fast as possible.
Well, keep in mind, they did already change the rules. So up until, 5 or 6 years ago, if you kicked a field goal, you won.
Right.
And now if you kick a field goal, the other team gets a chance. So these rules are clearly movable, right? They're willing to negotiate. So I won't be surprised if we do see a change to allow both teams one opportunity.
I know if I'm Josh Allen, I'm pissed. I'm pissed that I don't even get a chance.
He should be pissed at his top 5 defense. His top 5 defense let him down.
One.
Yeah, he should be pissed at his defense and pissed that he picked tails.
Right. Like I hear you. I hear you about the rules, them bending them. I don't see them going to a system that's similar to college football though.
No, not at all.
No,
because they have to be able to differentiate between
there's a middle ground, Pooh. There's a middle ground, Pooh, where at least the other team, even if they score a touchdown, the other team can get out there, score a touchdown, and then it's next point win. It doesn't have to be to the extent that college is. But boy, I personally would have liked to see John Allen out there getting an opportunity.
It's not even that much time in overtime to do all of that. Like if let's just say one team go out there and get a long drive, a 12-play, 14-play drive, and take up 8-9 minutes on the clock, the other team ain't got no time to go down and make a score.
So then at least finish.
That's good. That's exciting. I like that. And that's where it goes to, like, your defense has to perform, right? If your defense and your offense couldn't get it done in a certain amount of time, then that's too bad. But to not even have a chance in overtime, like Josh Allen and the Bills,
he had a chance. That's the thing. He had a chance.
The Bills had a chance. The Bills certainly had a chance. Josh Allen just had to sit there.
The Bills had a chance. The defense did not do their job.
That's a top 5 defense.
They're number 1 defense. They did not do their job. It's just like the 49er Packer game. The special teams did not do their job. So they lost.
But by that same argument, did the Kansas City Chiefs defense do their job? Because the scores were tied at the end of regulation.
Not at all. They
scores. So by that definition, they won on a coin toss.
It goes to show the problem, because you would take a top 5 offense over top 10 or top 5 defense in the modern NFL any which way.
Especially with the way the rules are.
It's a big ask. Yeah, I don't know. It's a big ask. I would like to be able to see the other quarterback at least get to.
It was really shocking though, like to watch playoff football and see so many busted coverages by really well coached defenses. Like even at the end of that Buccaneers game, like why the hell are we in a 2-man all-out blitz when there's no time left at the end of the game? Like, Todd Bowles is a great defensive play caller, but Jesus Christ,
that nickel blitz was
anything
weird.
More conservative than that? Like. That was so aggressive when it was no need, because all they was going to do was complete the ball, run the rest of the clock out, and go to overtime. But no, we want to be aggressive and get a blitz and get a sack for what? I have no clue, and blew the game.
Went over the
top. I'll tell you one thing we learned from this weekend. You have to have a quarterback. You cannot win these games without a quarterback. Which gets me to the last part of this show. We definitely want to cover some Washington stuff. They've got to get a quarterback. Yeah. I don't see where they can roll out next year. They certainly, I don't think, can roll Taylor Heineke out. Pooh, we've talked about this. I'm not sure Trubisky or Mariota is the way to go. I've been told, I believe, that they're going to swing. They swung hard last year. They're going to swing even harder this year. If Watson gets cleared, expect them to be in on that. If Russell Wilson wants to move on, expect them to be in on that. And frankly, I'd give a first-round pick to Seattle every year Russell Wilson takes us to the playoffs. I don't care if it's 6 of them.
Here's the problem.
Okay.
when you talk about these top tier quarterbacks, they want to go to good organizations. We have too many questions surrounding our owner and the organization. Like, what guy's going to want to come and play here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I get
there's
that,
too
but
many
I
questions.
wonder if you throw being the face of a rebrand. I mean, how many guys get to do that? Russell Wilson rolls out the face of a rebrand,
It's
the
not
man,
gonna
the
matter.
man that steers the organization in the right direction. You don't think that intrigues a guy like that?
Not
So
gonna
I
matter.
think,
This guy
yeah,
won
I
Super
think,
Bowls in the place that he was at, and it was under a great organization where he didn't have to worry about the owner per se. Like,
Yeah.
like Washington is completely dysfunctional. Where I'm hoping that we could change things around, but to get an Aaron Rodgers, to get a Russell Wilson, like, they need structure in the front office. Like, these are guys that damn near own their own teams in a sense. You know what I mean? So it's like, why would I go to a dysfunctional franchise just for a rebrand? I might as well go to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like, Ben Roethlisberger is out of there. Sign me up for Pittsburgh over Washington any day, just because you know you have good ownership.
Because you know what else comes with one of them quarterbacks if they come, if they were to come, a Rodgers or Wilson. Now you're gonna have the owner back in the mix.
Right.
He's back in the mix because now he has that sexy face of the franchise, big quarterback. He can't help himself. He's back in the mix, and that's what you don't want.
Yeah,
at all.
So I've been pretty vocal about this, and I say this with a lot of confidence, but I do want to preface that this is just my opinion. I'm not stating this as fact, but I think you can scratch Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers off the list of available Washington quarterbacks, right? So Deshaun Watson, we won't go into it too much, but this is a guy who's trying to get as much distance between himself and sexual assault or sexual harassment allegations. And Washington, an organization that is trying to get as much distance as they can between their own sexual harassment and sexual assault allegations. These two guys, it's not in the best interest for Watson or Washington to join. And I know people say, well, winning solves everything. If that was true, Deshaun Watson would have played this year because he is an elite quarterback. So Watson is not going to happen. What Chris said is spot on about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers plays for one of the most universally acclaimed run organizations in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. They are an excellently run team, and he's frustrated with them. He doesn't think they're good enough. You think he's going to leave that to come to Washington? No, that's not going to happen. No Russell way. Wilson is still a very, very, very long shot. So, like, I'm not saying this saying I think Russell Wilson's coming to Washington. But he's the most gettable out of these guys, and that's because there is a very, very small come-home factor for him, right? So, he's from the Richmond area. He's from the Virginia area. You can sell to Russell Wilson, hey, come home, spend the last 5, 6, 7, 8, however many years of your career bringing glory to your hometown and to your home area. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. It's a long shot. But he's the most gettable of those top-tier quarterbacks. So if you're going to go all in on one of those guys, he's the guy you chase.
Man, they're going to be chasing like Matt Ryan, Teddy Bridgewater, Jameis Winston. Like, that's what's going to be available. It's not going to be them top. Like, that's
what's
going to be.
I agree.
To tell you, because those top-notch guys are going to go to places where they feel like the organization is ran properly. And there's no way in hell.
And Rivera, you don't think Rivera's not seen that way?
Not. I
Martin
think
Mayhew's not seen that way.
I think it's still too early.
It's too early because this season, right? So what's happening on the field is one thing, but you still had a whole bunch of off-field stuff that you had to deal with every week.
Yeah.
That's the issue here. Okay, they're not ready on the field. Still a young team, still trying to build it, didn't have the quarterback. But when you see every other week, there's news stories coming out about the owner and what happened and what's going on and who he's suing and what's going on and what's in this, that, like, nobody wants to be surrounded by all of that. Like, if your goal is to win a championship, that's what you're trying to do. Nobody's trying to be surrounded by all, not them guys who's been a part of well-run organizations, as both of them stated. They've been part of very well-run organizations.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the reason, like, I agree 100%, Pooh. That's one of the reasons. And again, I preface this saying I still think it's a huge long shot, but Russell Wilson makes the most sense because he is squeaky clean, right? Like Aaron Rodgers turned heel, turned villain this year. Deshaun Watson, we've covered that. These other guys, they all have, one or two things. Russell Wilson is squeaky clean. So he may think he can come in and be Teflon and nothing sticks to him. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. And again, it's a long shot. But that's why, part of the reason why he's the most gettable of those top quarterbacks. But I agree. I don't think Washington will, have a top 5 veteran quarterback next year. I think we're going to have someone like Marcus Mariota. And I'm actually okay with that. But I know a lot of fans aren't.
Yeah, we're going to be stuck with Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston or Matt Ryan.
or Trubisky. I think there's a real shot at Trubisky being the guy.
There's a lot of heat around Garoppolo's name. Yeah.
There is. And if it costs number 11, I'm not into it. If it's
no. Yeah.
a second and a third, I may be into it. I'm not really excited about it.
That's why someone like Marcus Mariota makes sense, right? Because he's an unrestricted free agent. So you can bring him in, have Taylor Heineke as your backup, and still have your draft capital available for spending. And then, you bring in Mariota on like a 2-year contract with a 3rd-year option if he performs well. But you can get out of it after 1 year. And then next year's quarterback draft class looks much, much better. This is a bad offseason to need a quarterback. But the draft class is poor.
Who's the quarterback from Baltimore? Who's the backup quarterback from Baltimore?
Huntley.
Well, RG3.
I like him, bro.
Huntley.
Is he available?
Nah, I don't.
I think he is available.
You think so?
I do.
I think they lock him back up in Baltimore.
It could be, but I don't think he's signed to them for next year as of right now.
Man, I would go get him because if it wasn't for Jim Harbaugh going for 2-point plays every damn game, he probably would have won every game he started and played phenomenal. I'll take him in Washington. Come on, move down the street.
One of those premier quarterbacks, if obtainable, makes this team a conference contender. No.
Yeah. A lot has to go right to make the conference championships,
when we're
even if
talking
you're a
about
great
why
team.
would a guy want to come here? The roster isn't that far off from being competitive, even if they have to give up a first-round pick this year, to where a guy like Russell Wilson makes them an instant conference contender.
Well, the problem is, so let's use Russell Wilson as an example. A first-round pick alone isn't going to get him. Seattle's going to want to play it back. So you're probably sending back someone like, hypothetically, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Chase Young's off the table, John Allen's off the table. Maybe it's Ioannidis. You're sending back a package of picks and a good player. So does that ding your ability to improve your team over the next 12 months? Somewhat, but like a quarterback is the biggest improvement you can make.
We got to find a good defensive coordinator too.
I strongly agree.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to keep Jack Del Rio next year.
I think
I worry that we're going to keep Jack Del Rio next year. Yeah.
I'd be stunned if they make any moves other than a couple of positional coaching changes on the defensive end. Both coordinators will be back.
I think the D-line coach is definitely out of here.
Well, I know that's the coach most fans want out of here.
But see, what I didn't realize, right? He hired Del Rio, but he brought Carolina guys in to coach the position groups. So if you're going to keep Del Rio, you have to allow him to bring in his guys, because that could be part of the disconnect with the system and then the way some of the positions groups are playing the system. I do know whoever's coordinating, they have to get better at putting the guys they have in positions that's best suitable for them. Don't have your high-price free agent corner playing zone when he's a press man corner. You can't do things like that and expect to succeed or not have them big play glitches anytime he was on the field. So,
but you got to think about it. Like a lot of the good coordinators, it's not that they have, the greatest defensive calls. Is they have guys who can play multiple positions. They have guys who can play press man, but can also play zone 2 when need. You know what I mean? Like you just have to be like there's plays and situations where you're gonna have to get up there and play that man on man, press him up, jam him, and make it difficult. Then there's times where you need to get off of 6 yards and play soft zone. So you have to be able to do both. But what we did, man, it was too many times where it was like, our corners are 8 yards off the ball, and it was just easy completions all
And
day.
they only needed
all
5
day.
for a first
Right.
down.
In quick passing situations, we're playing 12 yards of cushion. Yeah.
Right. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Chris,
Yeah, that's what people forget. Like this past season, a season's a long time in football, but the first 6 weeks, our defense was horrible, and it wasn't down to individual performance; it was down to scheme. Like it was really bad. Each week, we're seeing blown coverages. Guys didn't know their assignments. Like Chris was just saying, really weird play calls and stuff like that. And then you talk to some people, and what they say is that as the season went on, Ron Rivera started getting more involved with the defense, and we saw that with like the Landon Collins position switch. We saw it with Jamin Davis. And if your head coach has to sort of, for all intents and purposes, override your defensive coordinator, why are you keeping your defensive coordinator? It doesn't make sense to me.
Chris, when the new name's announced, how will you want people to refer to you? How does that work? Will you be former Washington Redskin Chris Baker? Will you just be former Washington defensive tackle Chris Baker? Will you be
just call him Swaggy?
Washington Commander Chris Baker?
I'm former Redskin Chris Baker. That may not be the name now, but when I played, we were the Redskins, so I'm cool with
what most people don't know. Like if you see Chris in public and you go up to him and you call him a former Redskin or you call him a former Commander, you'll get the same response. He'll just be like, "How dare you talk to me? How dare you? Do you know who I am?"
Let's quickly go around before we wrap this thing up. Who you got in this weekend's slate of games coming up on Sunday? Who's going to the Super Bowl? Swaggy, let's start with you.
What's the matchup again?
So you got Rams versus Niners and Bengals versus Chiefs.
Whew. I'm saying the Chiefs and LA.
I love it.
Chiefs, LA in the Super Bowl.
I'd be surprised if anyone said anything different. Yeah,
it's a homecoming for LA. They're going to go out there and play their asses off because they get to play the Super Bowl at home, and it almost be like the Tom Brady situation in Tampa last year. So I don't see LA going out there and laying an egg on one of the biggest game in the season. They're going to come out and play some ball, and then the way Kansas City just played, I mean.
Bet against Mahomes if you want to, right?
Yeah, I can't bet against Mahomes. I can't bet against Mahomes, especially with Burrow. He's been playing good, and the whole offense has been playing good, good in Cincinnati. But that's a tall order to beat the Chiefs at home after what they just put up against Buffalo, who had a top 5 defense. I don't think the Bengals have a top 5 defense. They have a good defense, but it wasn't Buffalo's defense. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take Buffalo defense over the Bengals defense any day.
Bengals not going to be able to get away with kicking all them field goals on this weekend. Like, that's I give Sean Dermott props for that.
That's right.
Sean McDermott, he said it. He said you can't beat this team with field goals. Right. So he was taking some chances early.
He went for on 4th down twice on the first drive.
Because he knew what time it was. So. And he was right. You can't beat them with field goals. So I see it's going to be the Chiefs. Because Melvin Ingram, when they got him on the team and they moved Chris Jones back into the inside, that just transformed that defensive line. And it's going to be the Rams. I think I don't think San Francisco is going to be able to score with them. And, so we just got to get over this weekend salivating of 2013 Washington coaches that, was coaching in Washington, and now they're going on to do bigger and better things. We got to get
the fan base is going to be even more mad when O'Connell gets hired by Denver.
This
weekend for another one that they could have had.
I'm trying to tell you, watch when this LA game comes. They are going to watch how many times Von Miller or Aaron Donald line up on Tom Compton.
Yeah. When they said Tom Compton the other day, I was like, Tom Compton? It was like, Tom Compton. Okay.
I ain't mad at him. He has found a way to keep a job, boy. Because he's been there since Washington. He's always been kind of average, but he's found a way to start. And that's all you guys for is a chance to start.
It's
But
gonna be
somehow he keeps getting an opportunity to go out there and play. But that is the matchup that they're going to go after. They're going to attack that all day.
It's gonna be a whole bunch of line 4 up on Trent side,
Right.
and then stick 1-on-1 Aaron or Vaughn or Leonard Floyd on Tom Compton.
Because I can guarantee you, Von Miller gonna try and go for a duck, and he don't want to line up on goddamn Trent. He don't want that stress. He gonna go on the other side and put Floyd on the other side and be like, hey, let me take advantage of Tom Compton. Because if he lines up on Trent gonna shut his ass down. I've seen him do it, so trust me.
Yep.
Tom Compton,
Poop, Swaggy, I will see you gentlemen Monday. Chad, are you guys still doing the Washington rap during the offseason? I love that. The concept y'all came up with there.
Thank you. Yeah. So I just had another baby, so it's on a bit of a hiatus at the moment because I need some sleep. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. I've got 2 baby girls. So Swaggy, you got any tips for that? Send them my way, mate. The Washington rap, you can find us everywhere. You find me on Twitter at Chadwico TWW.
All right, fellas. Another great episode. Appreciate y'all.
All right, guys.
Y'all have a good one.